Africans for sale, for sale, for sale. Africans for sale, for sale, for sale.
All your good, yes? I was lying with some old men before the election, and well, I was amazed of their discussion. They were discussing the election of 2025, how Africans were selling cheap and UNC buying dead or alive. One old man shout out, fellas, give me your attention. UNC can't win by themselves, no election. You see, they're sitting and they're planning to make a decision. So she called out Shilaga, who the old FIFA wanted man. She said, call the trade union, let we start negotiations. And we could call out a big sale and we go buy out some Africans. Africans for sale, for sale, for sale. We buying Africans. Sing the thing. Africans for sale, for sale, for sale. We buying Africans. She don't have all she chance and she the honor rhymes. No, what she need is some slave names, man, some big strong Africans. Africans for sale, for sale, for sale. We buying good or bad. Africans for sale, for sale, for sale. Jamaica and Trinidad. Oh, somebody pinch me. Hey, UNC sitting and they're waiting patiently. With about 16 safe seats, they don't win that already. The woman said, I have my people, and they are born UNCs. Now all I need is some Africans who got their names out of slavery. She said that she hear they're really selling cheap, and she could buy them very cheap, 500 and a jersey. A lot of people will cry when she's finished with CPEP, because she is not holding back them.
Not have been present at the recently concluded, meaning just an hour ago, press conference of the government. And I'm starting there because I asked the question that I ask several times when I stand here. Where was the chair of the National Security Council at that press conference? Because I'm sure that you, the members of the media, would have had a lot of questions to ask. And no doubt when we have completed our remarks, you would ask us a lot of questions. So we continue to have a missing Prime Minister from these press conferences. And I call on the Prime Minister again to make herself available to take questions from the media as it relates to this very important matter of the citizens. But let me remind you what the Honorable Prime Minister said when Dr. Keith Christopher Rowley was Prime Minister and a state of emergency was declared at the time. This is what the Honorable Kamla Persad Bissessar said. The SOE's lack of seriousness is evident as Rowley did not find it important to attend the press conference to address citizens, but chose to play golf and enjoy the 50 million taxpayers' dollars for fetting and rum drinking. That was her response. The Prime Minister of Trinidad and Tobago is the head of the National Security Council, yet he has gone into hiding. I ask you, who has gone into hiding? Is he afraid of the very criminals that have caused so much death and destruction in our country? The Prime Minister could not find the courage to address the nation. But here again, we find that our Prime Minister continues to make herself absent. Let me just read a couple of the statements from the Prime Minister, having stated that the National Security Council met, and I'm reading because it's important. The National Security Council noted, following the end of the previous state of emergency on January 31st, 2026, there has been an increase in violent criminal activity across the country, most of which has been carried out by members of organized criminal gangs. Now, I know the Honourable Scotland is going to deal with a couple of issues, but it's important for us to note that in this recently concluded state of emergency, we must ask ourselves, how many of the hundreds of persons that were arrested and kept in custody, how many of those persons were charged? How many of those persons were convicted? But here again, they are calling another state of emergency. And why am I asking you about that? Because when I was a senator a couple years ago, I filed a question to the then Minister of National Security, Brigadier Sandy. And at that time, and that would have been the 2011 state of emergency, over 8,000 persons were arrested by this same UNC government. And following their arrest, there was a conviction rate of less than 10%. Over 8,000 persons. And the recently concluded SOE, when we get the figures, this is no different. And here again, there is another SOE. It is important to note that the Newsday article by Joey Bartlett, thanks to the cops, not the SOE. So what is it that the Commissioner of Police was saying? The Commissioner of Police was saying, while some may fear that when the SOE is lifted, murders will rise once again, Commissioner Guevara said he is confident the measures the TTPS have put in place will have a lasting effect. The reduction in murders and serious crimes, he argued, was tied to precision targeting of specific violent offenders, gang leadership, firearm traffickers, and facilitators. So here it is, and this is January, and you would recall that there was this press conference and they made it abundantly clear. As a matter of fact, there has been a boast as it relates to the reduction of crime. The Commissioner said it's because of the police. But let's go a little further. The Prime Minister attended the CARICOM heads of government in St. Kitts, and this is what the Prime Minister had to say. In 2025, with a change of policy to treat with drug cartels and gangs as violent terrorist organizations, the military action by the American military in the Caribbean caused Trinidad and Tobago murder rate to decrease by 42%, or 257 murders. This is just last week. So you have January, that the reduction has nothing to do with the SOE, it has to do with the police. Then you have the Prime Minister going to CARICOM and indicating you have a reduction by 42%. And the last comment I will make at this time, because I'll be here again, is that the radar that was set up in Tobago, they gave us a clear indication that this radar is going to result in a reduction of crime. But here it is, having said and having boasted about a reduction in crime, here it is again, that they come and say to us that they have some information. The National Security Council was informed that intelligence recently gathered indicated credible threats to attack police officers, prison officers, and other members of the security and legal services. I want to remind the media and members of the public We stood here a couple months ago, and you would remember that the SOE had to deal with ministers, members of the judiciary being attacked, and they were indicating to the public that they were trying to put in place measures to avoid a bloodbath in Trinidad and Tobago. They come now, just a month ago, everything was fine. Reduction in crime, things under control. You have put in place all sorts of measures using technology, and you're saying to the public, not the SOE, we now have everything in place. And just literally days later, after the Prime Minister made her statement in CARICOM, we now have a totally different story. I want to remind members of the public about the situation in 2011, when they told us the same thing, hotspots. And Honorable Scotland is going to deal with the ZOSO bill, because they want the public to believe that the opposition is responsible for the upsurge in crime. I want to repeat myself. I made it abundantly clear when I became the leader of the opposition that we as the opposition recognize the issue of crime in Trinidad and Tobago. And we have made it abundantly clear about our willingness to work with the government to deal with this matter. But we are not a rubber stamp opposition. It cannot be that you bring bills before the parliament, and before the bills are even debated, you say to members of the Senate that we are not going to deal with any amendments. You don't even wait. You don't even listen to what the amendments are being put forward. But your position is, what we bring, you must accept. What we bring, you must vote for. Not collaborate, not work together, not a give and take, not willing to accept the expertise of the opposition, but simply to say to us, take it or leave it. And when you propose amendments, then you come with this make-up story about independent senators asking the government favors for their vote. And up to today, the Prime Minister cannot name those independent senators. And that is because that allegation was totally false, was totally false, was totally false.
Citizens of the Republic. Now is 4 minutes to the hour of 3 o'clock. Today, Trinidad and Tobago, I stand with the opposition concerning the factor that Kamla Persad Bissessar cannot, up till today, come before Trinidad and Tobago and explain logically the reason why this state of emergency have been pronounced. Now, and then going through the documents and the various clauses that was placed, we are seeing a level of consistency that the government of this country is targeting free speech, freedom of movement and expression. And I am going to take this a step further, Trinidad and Tobago. This SOE, the part that Kamla Persad Bissessar said no marching and protesting, that is illegal. And very soon, I am going to call the government bluff on that. I want to see if any government, any judge is going to arrest me for demonstrating my constitutional rights. Mine's, not yours. Mine. I want to know if they're going to stop me from walking and saying enough is enough with this government. Now, Trinidad and Tobago, with that being said, I don't want to go too much into that. But for the sake of you, the general public, let me talk logically here. The Speaker of the House, Jagdeo Singh, have been arrested and he make jail. I'll be spending about 5 to 6 years. I didn't prepare to come to talk about this, but I needed to understand this today. The bluff that on social media, if you say that you're going on march tomorrow, that the government could arrest you based on that, that is a big bluff. And let me show you how this thing ties in, so many of you could understand. If I say I go down march, and the government come and lock me up based on that, they will be breaching the law. And I'm going to tell you why. Jagdeo Singh have been caught in a sting operation where he was going and bribe a judge or a magistrate at the time for a little traffic offense where he was going to pay $40,000 or $50,000. And the police, just as the person gave Jagdeo Singh the money, the police, as he walked out the building, the police hold him. And he was let off on the basis of this premise. And let me tell you what it is. The premise was that seeing the act corruptly, the money then went from him to the judge or to the police magistrate. I can't remember. As I say, I didn't come specifically to talk about that. Now, if I come here on social media and say I am going on march tomorrow and they arrest me without seeing me marching, that they will be breaking the law, because I had to be actually marching for them to hold me. I could come here and say what I want. You see, when they're trying to hold you for sedition in this country, Trinidad and Tobago, or you have to understand the loopholes and the clause, because at the end of the day, a man could have intentions. Intentions do not equal action. So when many of you come here to spread pandemonium and fear on certain people, or you could try, and or you could fail, or you are going to fail miserably. As I say, there is going to be a time, or you wait and see. I, Renison Jeffrey, is going to call the bluff of this government. Let Kamla Persad Bissessar explain to the general public that she arrests an individual for demonstrating his constitutional rights without calling the people to no civil disobedience. I will never do a thing like that. But I am, yeah, what I'm telling you, I will stand up against this, and I am going to demonstrate. Or you could put fear in whoever you want to, or you could continue to do that. But I, Renison Jeffrey, is not afraid of this government. As a matter of fact, I am not afraid of no man who could destroy body alone. I am afraid of the eternal and living God. So Trinidad and Tobago, Nobody cannot arrest you for saying on social media that you are going to march. They have to actually catch you on the march. Intention does not equal action. And if they do that, then Jack the Singh should have still be in the jail, rotting away. Don't let them play no games. And with that, I'll leave that conversation there, because remember what I say. I want to see who judge or magistrate that when I actually go outside there and march, or walk to demonstrate my disgust concerning this Prime Minister, I want to see which one of them will charge me for walking and demonstrating my constitutional rights. Because if you had to charge me for walking, you'll have to charge everybody on that same day for walking, including if you're walking home. Right? This government is a game and a kicks, yes. But Trinidad and Tobago, what I would have came here to discuss is a statement that would have been made by an individual, a social media content creator, in which I am disappointed in. And instead of the gentleman ask or provoke the correct, provoke you to think straight, instead of he do something like that, he engage in what we call verbal gymnastics, only to support this government. My God. So without further ado, Trinidad and Tobago, let me play this clip. And today I am treating with this here on this platform. People could come with whatever rhetorics they want. That is their business. That is their agenda. So Trinidad and Tobago, this gentleman would have been making his debut on social media, and I know the gentleman very well enough. Now, Trinidad and Tobago, let me play this clip, and I want to, after this, let us discuss this thing logically. I could see the red, the yellow oozing out of the man pause.
Thoughts on this?
The SOE is infringing on your constitutional rights. The amount of people I've seen saying this in comment sections or different posts in WhatsApp groups. And my question is this: are you a criminal? How is the SOE in, messing with your constitutional rights? How? How? Make it make sense. How are we doing it? If you...
Now, how is the SOE? The man asking a dotish question. How is the SOE messing with your... So you know the police... Trinidad and Tobago, you see the lengths a man go... Now, what would have engaged me? What would have made me come up here this evening as to talk about this is the statement that he's going to make next. Listen to this.
Are a criminal. This only affects you. And still, to a certain capacity, it don't affect criminals because what? The criminals and them still going on. How?
Your thoughts on this?
The SOE is infringing on your constitutional rights. The amount of people I've seen saying this in comment sections or different posts in WhatsApp groups. And my question is this: are you a criminal? How is the SOE in, messing with your constitutional rights? How? How? Make it make sense. How are we doing it? If you are a criminal, this only affects you. And still, that's certain...
Now, let me show you how certain people has played with words. Now, if you want to listen to that dotish talk, or you could go somewhere else and listen to it. But what this gentleman, in his whole speech, would have just proved is his willingness to obey this government irrespective to what. Now, my boy comment a broad claim. We must firstly ask this question, Trinidad and Tobago. Who determines who is a criminal during this SOE? Instead of the question that only criminals supposed to fear, who determines who is a criminal in this SOE? Does suspicion equals guilt in this SOE? What protection exists for innocent citizens wrongfully detained? You see, Trinidad and Tobago, the game and the gimmickry that exists with those who will support a party regardless of what is right before our eyesight. All we have to do is to look to places, Talk City, and all them talk show program. No, now the gentleman, the social media activists that will find every reason to agree with this government based on not facts, based on opinion, have it all over the internet and the spaces. What compensation mechanism exists for wrongful detention? So, instead of the gentleman try to inform the citizens of what is at stake, of what the average man could expect. If this thing, Trinidad and Tobago, is so transparent as they're trying to say, they would have put mechanism in place because they want to protect the rights of the law-abiding citizens likewise. So we put clause in place that could protect them as well. When you could blanketly say that this is in place for criminals, who determine who is a criminal? Trinidad and Tobago, I am very disappointed in the voices of certain people that supporting this SOE. This fly-by-night thing that the Attorney General and two clown next to beside him come up here and try to force the public, general public, to buy into. And here the gentleman, boy. Yeah.
Your thoughts on this?
The SOE is infringing on your constitutional rights. The amount of people I've seen saying this in comment sections or different posts in WhatsApp groups. And my question is this: are you a criminal? How is the SOE in, messing with your constitutional rights?
Now, there are a lot of questions that we still could answer. Who determines who is a criminal during the SOE? Does suspicion equals guilt? What protection exists for innocent citizens wrongfully detained? What compensation mechanism exists for wrongful detention? So instead of the activists who ought to be for the people ask these important questions. You is engaging in self-preservation and protectionism by sucking up to this government. Will the government publish weekly detention statistics? Will names where wrongful or charges be disclosed? Will lawful or charges be disclosed? Is Parliament fully informed and empowered to review the SOE? Is there independent civilian oversight? You see, when the government is controlling all the data of the statistics and the outcome, will there be independent civilian oversight? A SOE is not just we get up in the morning and call a SOE. You know. Although the Prime Minister have the power to do so, that don't make it right in Trinidad. That don't make it right. Is the crime problem due to a lack of power or a lack of resources and intelligence coordination? You see, there was a time that the Prime Minister would have made a statement when she was in opposition. And today it come into Hunchy. And up to now, she would have said that is not a good point. And she was quite right in her narrow-minded view of reality. Why were existing laws insufficient? Is this addressing a systemic policy failure? Every intellectual know underneath the sun that what we are experiencing today is a gimmick. The question now is why now? Was there specific targeting intelligence report? I'm triggering intelligence report. Why now? Just the other day, and all these questions, the powerful opposition leader, Penelope Beckers, would have asked. And up to now, no answer. Up till today, there is no answer concerning this. All you are seeing Trinidad and Tobago is the thousands of people, the handful of matter of fact. That will find every way possible to agree with this government.
Slow, dangerous surrender to the criminal gangs in our midst. There are examples in the region of territories that have allowed that. Trinidad and Tobago's fate will be different. Under the conditions of the state of emergency, the TTPS and the armed forces will be able to do what they are entrusted by law to do in a manner that would match the escalating danger that is being posed to all of us as law-abiding citizens and to the very rule of law in Trinidad and Tobago. From the very early hours of this morning, strategic operations have commenced by the protective services. These will continue in an intelligence-led, targeted, and deliberate manner until these threats to public safety are eliminated. We take this initial approach while concurrently putting various other measures in place that would constitute a longer-term, sustainable approach to maintaining order, peace, and safety in our society. We will continue to inform the public of various initiatives and operations taking place during this state of emergency as appropriate. I thank you.
Instead of this Attorney General engage in protecting the rights of the average citizens, if this is not for criminals, what safeguard that you have, that you put in place, that if it end up in a position that people have been detained unlawfully, what protections you have for them? If this is about fighting crime, what protection you have for the law-abiding citizen in this SOE? Trinidad and Tobago, we have to understand that this Attorney General is not for the people of this country. Because if it is, you are for law-abiding citizen. What protection that you have in place, John Jeremy? Or you feel people stupid? What protection you have in place, John Jeremy, for the average citizen if they get caught up? Or are you just a sellout regardless of what taking place? You eating our food, you is the Attorney General, and that is all you care about? Trinidad and Tobago, this goes without saying. It is evident that this government, this UNC government, is not for the people of this country. It goes without saying. And every conversation that they are having within the public domain is without consultation and it was without the input of the average man. The only thing that is left is either you agree or you don't agree. That is what it is afterwards. After they done put out the statement, after they done put together this unconstitutional SOE, this SOE that is illegal by suspending the people of this country rights to demonstrate. By Trinidad and Tobago, I is one man and I am not afraid. I am not afraid. Who the hell is John Jeremy? Who the hell is Kamla Persad Bissessar? Who the hell is that incompetent Homeland Security Minister? Who you feel you is? Who you feel you is, Roger Alexander? Every post you make, everybody see that you are not intelligent. You cannot string a sentence together. Trinidad and Tobago, the Prime Minister of this country must do the honorable thing. I would have told you from in the start that I show my support for the opposition that is run by Penelope Beckles. I show my support. You see what's going on in this country? You see that statement that would have been made within that press conference yesterday? Trust me, you buy me, Penelope Beckers. You buy me. You see what I am seeing this government doing to the people of this country? You see what I am seeing the Attorney General is doing to the people of this country? You seeing what these sell out? I was going to say something else. Imagine the big social media activists. Opinion box boy, I disappointed in that level of questioning. Trinidad and Tobago, I want you to understand something. It is said in logic. Two things I want you to pay attention to, a matter of fact. The first one, argumentum ad lapidem, which is appeal to the stone. The Attorney General would have engaged in bad logic. He would have mounted a platform and dish out statements without bringing the facts. Well, this is what would have arose here, 10,000 people here, 3,000 people, so 10,000 people, so we have these safeguards in place. That is not somebody that care about your rights. It is evident by the release of this state of emergency and the conditions that put in place. What they have in place if they lock up somebody illegally? This is for law-abiding citizens. If this is for law-abiding citizen, it will be law-abiding citizen-friendly. And the second thing, instead of the activists, the sellout activists, ask the question, who determines who is a criminal? Or what is a criminal in this SOE? You, opinion box, engage in lick bottom. When I say that, I say all. Hear this. Hear the activists now, boy. Hear him.
Your thoughts on this?
The SOE is infringing on your constitutional rights. The amount of people I've seen saying this in comment sections or different posts in WhatsApp groups. And my question is this: are you a criminal? How is the SOE in, messing with your constitutional rights? How? How? Make it make sense. How?
Now, I talk to gentlemen like them, and I just psychoanalyze them. You see that smirk he would have had when he engaged in the conversation? That translating to the audience that you are stupid if you think otherwise. Now, it's a psychological trick to pressure other people. Let me show you it again, and trust what I'm saying. Let me show you this again. It's a psychological trick. Now, if you're presenting information and you laugh at somebody, boy, you have to be stupid if you think something like that. And watching the person direct in the eye, they will really think something wrong with them. Look at it again.
Your thoughts on this?
The SOE is infringing on your constitutional rights. The amount of people I've seen saying this in comment sections or different posts in WhatsApp groups. And my question is this: are you a criminal? How is the SOE in, messing with your constitution?
The question the gentleman should have asked in that post is who define who is criminal or not. I need to stay for so long. We need to get real. We need to be reasonable. Right, we need to get real, be real and reasonable outside here. And there are a lot of questions that I could go on and answer and ask. I am asking you, Trinidad and Tobago, be honest with yourself. What specific constitutional rights are being suspended? What safeguard exists to prevent abuse of of detention power. How long will SOE last? What measurable benchmark will be determined at the end? Is there independent judicial oversight to determine detention? How many people can be detained without charge, or for how long? These things are not Olive Jack. Olive Jack would have been detained with no charges throughout the entire SOE. How long you could determine, you could detain a man, and these is the things that we need to ask this government. You could call SOE if you damn well please, is your constitutional rights. But if you ain't find no charges on a man, how long that man could stay behind bars without no charge? And until we start to ask these questions, Trinidad and Tobago, until we start to push against this government, Trinidad and Tobago, they will continue to do us what they want. And when I say that, I say all. Trinidad and Tobago, my heart go out for many of you, for all of you, for this country, and I am calling on you to be sober-minded and understand that this SOE is a gimmick. Thanks for watching. So that I'm mad right about now. Before I think, I'm going to make an exit. Thanks for watching, and thanks for watching this program. Again, we are going to go live every single day. The hours might change, but I am calling on Trinidad and Tobago, sensible Trinidad and Tobago, to see what this government is doing to us. When I say that, I say all.